I'm a very impatient person, so I feel like every light is long.
Trying to take a left turn, and it just takes forever.
Everywhere is crowded, all of it.
The traffic lights is not very well synced here.
Their complaints local public works departments hear often.
Yes, we do.
The most common thing that we get is
People are at the light too long,
that they're waiting too long for a traffic light to turn green.
or it didn't let us.
Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
We begin tonight with a disturbing discovery. One man is dead after he was found in a pool in northeast Bexar County. It all happened around 2 o'clock this afternoon at a community pool on Abbott Place near I-10 and FM 78 in St. Hedwig. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office says that first responders, they tried to help that man, but the 35-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. And we have a lot of questions, but as of right now, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office says that there are no signs of any foul play. A San Antonio woman who was struck and killed in her own front yard by a fiber optic cable. Today, the family of Glenda Roth filed a wrongful death lawsuit in state district court. And the suit claims that the cable was hanging well below the required height and that the truck driver who struck it could have avoided it. Dylan Collier sat down with Roth's loved ones.
She was like that brightest star in the sky.
She made life fun, and she had a way of making ordinary moments and ordinary days special.
The morning of May 2nd, Glenda Roth and her husband Bill were working on the front yard of their north side home.
I heard the truck before I saw it.
When this hauler truck ran into an installed fiber optic cable hanging in the roadway.
I'll never forget it the rest of my life. I saw it go by, and the cable was coming across the top of the dumpster in midair, just like a whip.
Roth turned and saw his wife of 16 years, Glenda, on her back, unconscious, with a large, deep gash above her left eye. Glenda was rushed to Brooke Army Medical Center, where she would remain in intensive care for nearly 2 weeks.
Walking in and seeing her laying there, she didn't look like my mom anymore. She was unrecognizable. The damage was so severe.
Glenda's family made the heart-wrenching decision to take her off life support. Glenda Roth died May 15th at the age of 64.
I don't want this to happen to somebody else. I want the people that did this to be held responsible, and that somebody else doesn't have to go through the rest of their life without the woman they love.
Enter the Crosley Law Firm and attorney Brennan Jenkins. A wrongful death lawsuit filed today accuses AT&T and Quest Utility Construction of hanging the line well below the national standard height, and the dump truck driver of operating the vehicle in a negligent manner.
Each of these companies has a part in either creating or ignoring the dangerous conditions that ultimately resulted in Glenda's passing.
Months after Glenda's death,
she was the love of my life. I prayed for her. I prayed that I would somehow meet her before I died, and sure enough, it would happen.
For KSAT Investigates, I'm Dylan Collier.
That lawsuit seeks more than $1 million in damages. KSAT has reached out to all 3 companies that are named in that suit, but only AT&T officials responded, saying that they received our inquiry and are looking into it. Now, Bexar County leaders are pushing back on Mayor Gina Jones's claim that footage of an arrested councilwoman going before a judge was leaked. Now, we obtained emails showing Jones referring to the July 25th footage of District 8 Councilwoman Ibalis Mesa Gonzalez as a, quote, unprecedented leak. Both County Judge Peter Sakai and Administrative Judge Ron Rangel responded via email to the mayor that the video was taken from a live stream of magistration proceedings, something that the county has made available to the public for years. Rangel, in that email thread, wrote that the city should consider opening its own magistration proceedings to the public in the interest of transparency. Now, Mesa Gonzalez, who was sworn in just weeks ago, faces a misdemeanor DWI charge, and she's scheduled to be arraigned on August 25th. After KSAT reached out to Mayor Jones seeking comment, her office released the following statement that's on your screen. The mayor watched the video along with the city manager and city attorney. None had ever seen such a video of the county's magistration process and only recently learned the county began live streaming those proceedings in 2020. Statement goes on to say that this led all to believe the footage may have been improperly shared. It is odd that despite the number of high-profile DUI, DWI arrests since 2020, this remains the only footage shared publicly, end quote. The Texas Rangers have been granted a deadline extension to submit evidence in the Brad Simpson case. Of course, this is a story that we've been following closely for months. You may remember that Simpson is accused in the disappearance and presumed murder of his wife, Suzanne Clark Simpson, who was reported missing on October 7th. According to court documents, the Hill Country flooding that happened on July 4th delayed the August 1st deadline. At the time, if you remember, Texas Rangers were actually helping in the search and rescue efforts up in Kerrville. According to Bexar County court records, Simpson's next court appearance is set for September 8th. It's been more than 4 years since baby James Chidas' remains were found underneath the mobile home where he lived. And now his mother, Delaney Chidas, is accepting a plea deal in that case. As our John Paul Barajas explains, baby James's family says that the sentencing is a slap on the wrist.
Bexar County failed another child. I'm so sorry, but I love you, and I'm always going to have you in my heart, baby. Always and forever.
That was the message from the aunt of 18-month-old baby James Chidas. The mother, Delaney Chidas, took a plea deal Tuesday, pleading guilty to one count of intentionally or knowingly causing serious bodily injury to a child.
20 years with time served. Where's that justice? 20 years is not enough time. She gets to come out and have another child. She'll be in her 40s, early 40s by the time she gets to come out.
In April of 2021, baby James's remains were found under the mobile home where he and his mother lived. After years of little or no progress in the case, Chidas' aunt, Marisol Benavides, says she's heartbroken.
What are we telling people, that it's okay? Oh, go ahead, kill your child. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get any time. It's a slap on your hand. It's a slap in James's face.
No cameras were allowed in the courtroom, but Benavides read as part of her impact statement.
You're guilty of not providing James with love, guilty of him being found dead. You're guilty of being a poor excuse of a mother and a human being.
Delaney Chidas showed little to no reaction when it was read to her.
It hurts my heart. You know, it hurts me because she's still my niece. I don't hate her. I hate what she did. I'm disgusted and very, very hurt by her.
Benavides tells us besides being disappointed in the plea deal and sentence, it also hurts not having any answers as to why all of this happened.
It took us a long time to try to understand why the court was taking so long. And then they ripped it away from us. And now we just have to put that Band-Aid back and just keep his memory alive.
John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
The special legislative session in Texas is on hold for the second day in a row. This comes after several Democrats left the state to avoid a discussion on a new proposed congressional map. Now, the leaders who left are facing threats of arrest, threats of fines. Governor Greg Abbott and Republican lawmakers are pushing to redraw Texas congressional maps that the Democrats say would give Republicans more seats in the House. But if you ask President Trump, he says Republicans are entitled to those additional seats. But Democrats are adamant, nope, that's not the case. Today, Republican U.S. Senator John Cornyn sent a letter to the FBI asking for help in finding the Democratic Texas state lawmakers who have fled and also calling for an investigation into any, quote, potential criminal acts. While many of us think about our Hill Country neighbors still recovering from last month's floods, the San Antonio River Authority is also thinking about flood warning systems, but right here in Bexar County, because leaders say they want to improve and also expand the system. Specifically, that includes updating monitoring systems, communication systems, and also preventative measures at low water crossings. The River Authority also wants to bring all three existing systems into the county, but under its umbrella. So that could cost around $22 million. And leaders say that they're hoping to expand the upgrade to surrounding counties, possibly with state money. At a meeting this afternoon, county commissioners voted to direct staff to find space in the budget. All right, now let's take a live look at our roads right now. 410 at Blanco Road. It was looking just this busy when we showed this clip to you, or this video at about an hour ago. Looks to me just like normal traffic on an evening. So back here, Bexar County voters are going to have their first and likely only chance to vote on a new Spurs arena this November. Bexar County commissioners voted 4-1 to ask voters whether to raise the hotel portion of the county's venue tax. It would be used on a Spurs arena and upgrading the team's current home and surrounding Freeman Coliseum grounds. Garrett Berger tells us how the fight has already started.
Motion is approved.
Getting Commissioners Court approval was a highlight for Spurs Sports and Entertainment.
We're very excited about the action today. We are thankful to the county and their leadership.
Well, the buzzer hasn't sounded yet on getting public funding for a new arena, and opponents aren't lying down.
This is a blank check to billionaires with our tax money.
We're also one of the poorest cities per capita of NBA cities. Is that another reason why we should make bad economic decisions?
Bexar County's existing venue tax on hotel stays and car rentals helped pay for the Spurs' current home, the now Frost Bank Center. Now, commissioners want voters to consider raising the hotel portion by 0.25%, not only for the new arena, but to help renovate the Frost Bank Center and the surrounding Coliseum grounds, which Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai says is the priority.
We are now in a position to set a foundational piece for the east side with the renovated Coliseum grounds and facilities.
But the biggest chunk of the tax raise is reserved for the arena, up to $311 million, or 25% of the price tag, whichever's smaller.
If the new arena comes in at $1 billion, they don't get 311, they get 250.
Supporters frame the tax raise as a cost to visitors and point out they're limited on how they can use it.
It can only be used for certain venues, period. We can't use it on housing. We can't use it on mental health as much as I would like.
Still, organized opposition to the arena and the city's wider sports and entertainment district, Project Marvel, has been increasing.
Given the level of opposition that we have heard, there is a possibility that this fails at the ballot box. If that happens, what does that mean for a new arena?
Today, we're really excited about the opportunity to go in front of the voters, and we're going to move forward with the campaign, a great message, and let the voters have a chance to voice their opinions.
The arena could cost up to $1.5 billion. The team has said it would spend $500 million on the arena, and the city of San Antonio is still debating how much it will kick in. But its contribution likely would not require voter approval. San Antonio council members are scheduled to discuss Project Marvel at a meeting Wednesday. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
So here's something. Are we actually seeing more hate crimes in San Antonio? Still ahead on the news at 6, we're going to take a look at a trend that we have been seeing in Bexar County.
And a little bit of activity on authority radar right now, plus some subtle rain chances in the days ahead. We're going to jump into it all in just a bit.
Coming up tonight on the Night Beat, months after being attacked in the classroom, a teacher says he wants to go back. Judson ISD's board terminated Chris Johnson this spring. They say that his teaching certification expired. Johnson says that happened as he was recovering from an injury that he got on the job over at Judson Middle School. And he described the very moment that he says led to him blacking out.
I went to go grab him, turn him around, and as I turned him around, he swung at me. And as he swung, I dodged and hit my head on the brick wall.
After that incident, Johnson says doctors diagnosed him with a cognitive delay. Our KSAT investigates Daniela Ibarra has spent months looking into the number of teachers hurt on the job. And tonight on the Night Beat, she's going to tell us about the resources that the district says it gives its staff. From offensive graffiti to making threatening videos to stockpiling weapons for an attack. Local law enforcement officers say that these are all crimes that they've uncovered recently centering around hate. Katrina Weber shows us what one expert is saying that's driving all of this.
As far as I'm concerned, this appears to be a hate crime.
Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez had no doubt in March about the damage to a migrant memorial. He says the person who broke and knocked down crosses had to be filled with hate. San Antonio police believe that's also what motivated 55-year-old Joseph Vayu and 48-year-old Travis Hasten, accused in separate cases of making racist threats online to politicians and protesters. This past weekend, someone tagged Northside homes and cars with anti-Semitic graffiti. That was 2 days after the arrest of 39-year-old Nathan Henderson for allegedly threatening to kill Jewish and black people.
It's worrisome because this is a multiracial. Even this block itself is multiracial.
Inside Henderson's North Bexar County home, sheriff's detectives say they found guns and grenades, along with white supremacist materials. These are just some of the stories that grabbed news headlines, but according to San Antonio Police Department figures, things like this happen on average about 3 times per month. They say as of the end of July, there have been 21 hate crime investigations so far this year.
Our community right now demand efforts to unify and to heal.
Misty Hardy oversees a program with the Young Women's Christian Association that has been working to promote racial justice for more than a century. She says the current climate against diversity is fueling the fire.
And this undercurrent of a message that somehow those people, air quotations, are taking our resources, our access.
The solution, she says, is open communication, talking about race to prevent people from acting on it. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Now we're going to pivot and take you outside. Live cam right now, 96 degrees, nice blue skies. There is some rain pretty far away from us right now.
Yeah, the coastal showers, as we often talk about, and that's what we're seeing today. We're going to see them, I think, pretty much every afternoon going forward, with some subtle chances here and there of some activity in or around San Antonio. So let's start with authority radar first of all, and you'll see nothing here near town, but you go farther to the east, southeastern Lavaca County, just outside of Hallettsville. That's where we have one downpour right now. These are pretty quick splash and dash. Nothing severe, nothing strong, nothing that would cause any flooding. And farther south down the coast, and the coastal bend, basically, we've had some action popping up over the past couple of hours, and even the sea breeze starting to work its way westward. Sometimes that can kickstart its own showers. Into tomorrow, very similar situation. Coastal showers, and some of them can make it to Hallettsville, Cuero, Yorktown, Falls City, Kennedy, not out of the question, especially Victoria, Goliad. Some of our far east and southeastern counties can get these. But even tomorrow, we might have just enough instability locally where a stray little pop-up shower or two could develop. That's about it. And then rain chances shift a little bit as we get into Sunday and then early part of next week. So let's talk about the pattern and what's going to change. Upper level high, the big blue H that we are all familiar with, summer's past. It's not centered directly overhead. It's actually centered over New Mexico. So it's not completely pressing down on us like it can and it has in the past. And actually notice the little disturbance, this little dip in the upper level flow here over the Gulf causing some showers. Well, we're going to see a similar dip, a weak disturbance develop by Sunday and then into Monday and Tuesday. Nothing significant at the moment, just a little ripple in the upper level flow that can help kickstart some showers that aren't just those coastal showers that we get pretty much every afternoon this time of year. As for accumulations, right now it's looking pretty minimal. Of course, things can change between now and then, but right now looking pretty minimal, and coverage would be pretty limited as well. Actually, the Panhandle has better opportunity for rain than we do around here in South and Central Texas. So 10% chance tomorrow, 10% chance Sunday, 20% chance into Monday and Tuesday with that little subtle weak disturbance. So updated number 98, our high temperature for today, just 1 degree above average, but our morning low is 72, and that's 4 degrees below average. Of course, the record 104 set back in 1964. So far, 9 triple-digit days so far this year. By this time last year, we had 12. This time in 2023, we had 40. And by this time in 2022, we had 56. I'd say so far, this summer's not nearly as bad. 96 right now, dew point 64, so it feels like we're at 99 degrees. And at times going forward, I think the feels like temperature will be around to slightly above 100 for a few hours every afternoon, especially by the end of the work week and into the upcoming weekend. Carrizo Springs 102 right now, Cotulla at 100. Otherwise, we're in the 90s. And by 8 o'clock, 93, 10 o'clock, 87. The typical warm evenings that we have this time of year. Tomorrow morning, mid-70s at sunrise. A lot of sunshine, making it to 99 for the high temperature and the southeasterly wind at only 5 to 10 miles per hour, so not a significant breeze. As usual, along the Rio Grande, right at triple digits tomorrow. Del Rio 101, Eagle Pass about 100, but by and large, mid 90s in the hill country, upper 90s elsewhere. And then I think we'll start tallying up those triple digit days again. I mean, 100 to 101 for the high temperatures Thursday, Friday, on into the upcoming weekend. And also coming up at 6:45, a look at the satellite imagery of the intense wildfire smoke elsewhere in the country and an update on the tropics.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Adam. So this is the time of year that's super exciting for students as well, because this is all about possibility. And you have been traveling quite a lot. Your team has to talk about high school football and give us a preview of the teams.
Yeah, the first time that teams could begin practicing was yesterday, so now the fun really begins. We continue our BGC previews by going south to check in with the Post Pirates, and they're home to one of the coolest active streaks in high school football. And also checking in with Texans training camp, D'Amico Ryans shares an update on one of his linebackers who's projected to have a breakout season after the break. right, we are visiting with the Poth football team, also known as the Kings of District 15 3A Division 2. Yesterday, the Pirates took the gridiron for their first practice for the 2025 season. Now, the only blemish on the program's record last year came from a regional semifinals loss. Aside from that, Poth was undefeated, continuing their brilliance in district play, still perfect since 2016. But do the Pirates consider last season a success?
Anytime since we've been here, anytime you don't win that last game, it's a disappointment. Every team in the state of Texas, unless in every classification except one, loses that last game, and so that was obviously disappointing. We ended up 12-1, had a really good run. Had some injuries towards the end of the year that kind of cost us, but our kids are excited to be back on the field. Again, we have a really good, talented group coming back. We have not lost a district game since 2016, and that's a big accomplishment for these kids. So, that stays on our mind quite frequently, as well as not being that team that obviously falters in district.
More on that talented group Coach Luna referenced. The Pirates senior class has been instrumental in making sure Poth is always playing around Thanksgiving time. And they don't want that undefeated district streak to end on their watch.
We've made a name for ourselves, deep playoff runs every year. Everybody knows in the state that we're one of the top dogs.
We do carry a lot of pride doing that, especially as seniors. We have to keep that going. We don't want to be that class to lose that streak and break all the work that these classes have done for nine years now. We don't want to be the ones to lose that. So we do carry a lot of pride in what we do.
I think the coaches, they're really good coaches, teach us to do little things right, play hard all the time, fight, just keep battling no matter the score. They say our opponents are nameless, faceless, and just treat everyone the same.
We always aim for an undefeated district champ, try to keep that district streak going alive, and it's always planned to end at Jerry's World and win a state championship.
We'll see if they can do that. Poth opens up their season on the 29th at home against non-district foe Jourdanton.
Camping with KSAT, powered by Thomas J. Henry.
Okay, after weeks of practicing against themselves, the Dallas Cowboys finally get to shake things up today, hosting the Los Angeles Rams for a joint practice. Micah Parsons, the Cowboys star edge rusher who requested a trade from the team on Friday, was in attendance but didn't participate per usual. We'll have more on the joint practice tonight on the Night Beat.
No, it's not a challenge getting Christian back. It's just a matter of him being in a good spot where he can come out and play well. He's been dialed in. He's been in a ton of meetings, a ton of walkthroughs on the side, even though it hasn't been live, full-speed reps.
Day 2 is in the books for the Texans at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Head coach D'Amico Ryans providing an update on Alabama product Christian Harris as he works through a calf injury. Now, Harris is entering his 4th year with the Texans, but the linebacker has dealt with multiple injuries over a short amount of time. More on Harris and running back Damian Pierce, who was just activated off of the PUP list, coming up at 7 on KSAT Sports Now.
Mary, thank you for that. And stay right where you are, because after the break, you see her right here. Mayor Gina Jones is going to join us for our KSAT Q&A right after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Time now for our KSAT Q&A. Joining us now is Mayor Gina Jones. This is something that we try to have you on every Tuesday, so we're happy that you're joining us here today. So obviously, we're going to start with the elephant in the room. There was a back and forth that you had with county leaders, and it had to do with the video of the councilwoman after she was arrested on suspicion of DWI. We're talking about Councilwoman Ivalis Mesa Gonzalez. When you had communicated with county leaders, you said the video had been leaked, but it wasn't. I mean, it's public video that the media and everyone has access to. What do you have to say about the situation now?
Yeah, well, and so when I saw the video, actually, the city manager showed it to me, and we were actually with the city attorney as well, and none of us had ever seen that angle video. No one had ever seen that kind of footage among those three. And the chief of police actually also corroborated they hadn't seen that before. So when you have such senior city staff saying they'd never seen anything like that, for us, it seemed like something had been shared inappropriately. The city attorney's team reached out to the county, and it sounded like they have been live streaming this. There's some debate about the actual time that they've
5 years or something, yeah. Since they started that process.
Well, yeah, and I think there's some details there. It sounds like they've only been doing it consistently for 2 months. And I think what's important there is, I think in our community, look, we've got two things, as I always say. We've got compassion and we've got common sense. And I think when we looked into that, you have to actually be watching that feed right as somebody is going through it. You can't archive it, you can't search it. And so that also led us to believe there may have been something that caused somebody to pay attention to that, otherwise they would not have been. And so, you know, for this to have been going on for 5 years, as they say, and yet this is the first time we've seen, given the other high-profile DUIs and DWIs in our community, the first time that we would have seen this. I think for us, it just kind of raised a lot of questions about what exactly happened here. And I think, you know, I'm sure the judge also shares the importance of making sure that people have, you know, adequate privacy and due process, and that there aren't any things that kind of unnecessarily color somebody's judgment of somebody, right? And so that's why we reached out and wanted to you know, get more information. And I also, I mean, if we were unfamiliar that this was now being live streamed, then certainly the public also did not know this was being live streamed.
Are you suggesting that there was something nefarious about?
We were asking questions, again, because for us, for that to have been in play for so long, and for senior city officials to not be aware of it in any way, again, to us indicated that something inappropriately had been shared. And if this had been going on, as I mentioned, for that amount of time, it's very surprising that we hadn't seen this for any of the other high-profile DUIs or DWIs. So again, I think it's a fair question in light of the circumstance, and you know, look forward to working with the county and the judge and making sure, you know, the public is very clear about those pieces of information that are public.
Have you spoken with the councilwoman about what happened?
I've spoken with Councilwoman Mesa Gonzalez, and you know, thankfully she is safe. Thankfully, nobody was injured, and you know, she's going through the legal process, and she should be afforded that, of course.
So we had it with the administration before yours. There were two instances of council members being arrested under similar circumstances for DWI. They were censured within City Council. Is that going to happen in this case?
We're still waiting on a couple of pieces of information to be able to determine what is the right way forward. That is, obviously, again, continues to maintain the public's trust in their elected officials.
Are you ruling out a censure?
No, I think we're still waiting on additional information to figure out what's the best way forward.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you, switching gears now, it has to do with the Spurs. So we talked about this earlier in the newscast. The Bexar County Commissioners voted to pretty much take it to voters and ask them whether they want to raise the hotel portion of the county's revenue tax, and that could help Bexar County get up to $311 million for the new sports arena. But the city hasn't yet decided how much its portion would be. Do you have a deadline, or do you know when the city would come up with a decision on that?
Well, I think it's really important. So we have different, our math problem is a little bit different, if you will. To your point, the county has said they will pay up to 25% of the cost at a max of 11. They have said they're also willing to waive the $88 million, which is the cost to leave early, right? So they're in it for $399 million. They did not negotiate a community benefits agreement, and some of the answers that we are still awaiting from the Spurs, they don't have those answers. Again, because our due diligence is just a little bit different than the county's, and their timeline was also different. They can only call an election once a year, so it was either going to be this November or next November. So I think they really felt the time pressure. We are not under those same constraints.
Right.
And so we have the opportunity to do our due diligence. And again, we're not looking, it's not just the Spurs arena, right? It's all the elements of Project Marvel, which is why at the previous meeting, I really wanted my council colleagues to have as much data as possible, which was the economic impact analysis, which is public, as well as the full write-up of the Able City, the community engagement sessions, and that would allow us to best then provide feedback on the term sheet. I think no surprise for folks that, I've got a background in economics, and I found that economic impact analysis to be lacking. And so I think it's really important. Again, the voters are only going to vote on the infrastructure bond.
Right.
They're not voting on this arena. They are entrusting us to do the due diligence, and that is what we will do. So we've got lots of questions still to be answered, as evident by that economic analysis that was shared.
Yeah, that economic analysis, and I just want to bring it up because there were some numbers that brought up in that were brought up in that economic analysis. The firm CSL International, they're the ones who did this, and they said that the project would have an economic output of $18.7 billion and bring in $351 million more in city taxes. But when we spoke to independent economists, they said, council members shouldn't necessarily rely on that for decision making. What else are you taking into account?
Well, I think it's really important that when we look at economic impact analysis like that, we have to understand somebody's assumptions, right? What are you thinking will happen? And those assumptions are important because we might not agree with those. So really laying those out is what I would argue is just basic tradecraft, basic methodology. So it's really important that we see that. I think the other piece that was really lacking for me is when you looked at the economic impact analysis that CSL did just on the arena, what they said is we did not look at their numbers. We did our analysis based on a review of the summary findings of the Spurs' consultants' numbers. So that is, I think, well short of the due diligence that folks would expect. So we need, again, a true understanding of the impact and the economic analysis for the arena itself, because there's a number of revenue streams that are going to pay for the arena as well as other things, and getting the right combination of those requires that we have a level of information and level of understanding of what the return on investment is, and the CSL analysis doesn't provide that.
Okay, so I just wanted to squeeze in one final question because obviously flood mitigation efforts are on the minds of everybody, and we know that 2 months ago we had that devastating flood right here in San Antonio. Is that also being discussed among city leaders as far as how much the city can pitch in for flood mitigation efforts that would potentially save lives?
It must. It must, right? I'm thankful today, the county judge shared that they're going to pay $21 million toward this low water crossing infrastructure, which is very much appreciated. I mean, city residents pay into that, so I'm glad that money is going to come back into the infrastructure we need. Let's not forget, though, I mean, the special session in Austin right now is supposed to be looking at flood infrastructure. And let's not forget, on the state's flood mitigation plan, there are 14 projects just here in San Antonio, and if we did all of those, it's $411 million. That's why I sent, about a week and a half ago, a letter to our state delegation saying, hey, very clearly, it's really important that we speak with one voice on this issue, because of the top 100 projects on the state plan, San Antonio only has 4. Right? So 14 projects totaling $411 million. And if we don't get any help from the state on that, we have an opportunity to help ourselves in the bond. And that's why it's really important that we understand how much money from the bond may need to go to support the infrastructure needs around this downtown development, as well as what may be needed to support if we wanted to help ourselves on some of these flood projects. There's not endless money, right? So we really have to get the math right and understand where we have the highest rate of return. But to your point, what are the investments we need to make to keep ourselves safe?
Where do you add money? Where do you take away money? That's That's what the budget requires.
And let's not forget, we're entering into a very difficult fiscal environment, right? I mean, soon we will see the implementation, and we're starting to see hints of it already, the implementation of the reconciliation bill, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Medicare, some of the other funding, social services that are being impacted in our community, right? We're going to, it'll be a very difficult economic environment, so we have to, I think, take that into context as we make the right investments for our community for the future.
Mayor Jones, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on the
you.
set, and we'll have to leave things right there. We'll be right back after the break. So we know school is almost back in session. It's too hot to go outside, and the kids might be bored or even spending too much time on their electronics, right? So you want them to go out. But there is a free place where they can get that boredom out and perhaps even find free tutoring once the school year gets started. Watch this.
Something has to be minus.
These kids are practicing their math skills and having a good time.
I do math.
That's what's been happening at the Cortez Library on the South Side this summer.
We have had approximately a bajillion people come through for the summer.
Librarian Linda Childs is joking, of course, but she has noticed more visitors.
Fox paint, fox paint.
Teacher and mother Kathy Rosales says her kids don't mind hanging out with her at the library.
When I was younger, we used to walk across to this library and have a reading, like listen to a story and things like that. And I've actually told them about my experiences as a child. And, you know, the love for reading is built early on.
There's educational computer games. At this library, a teen gaming station, and all libraries offer tutoring once kids start school.
You're here at the library's homepage, mysapl.org, and then you go to services.
It's hot. There's another reason to come to the library, right? It's a cool place to be when you don't want to be outdoors in that sun.
Awesome. Well, good luck in the school year, and good luck keeping these kids, entertained, not only your kids, but your kids at school.
Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.
Okay, so that's somewhere where kids can go and just escape this Really oppressive heat. All right, 96 degrees out there right now. We keep saying this nice, beautiful, almost clear skies. Our Adam Caskey is going to come back with your full forecast right after the break.
I want to start off with some satellite imagery that we have of the wildfire smoke and how thick it is, especially around the Great Lakes, New York State, New England, and up in Canada. So you see that really hazy sky? Oh, yeah. And you can even see the fires burning in parts of Manitoba and Ontario. That wildfire smoke has been pushed all around the northern section of the U.S. and even leading to poor air quality. You look at the air quality and where you see all those colors, especially the oranges, that's where it's not necessarily at its worst that it could be. See, it's still in that mid-moderate range, but still that's where it is degraded a bit because of that wildfire smoke, which previously, like last week, it was down here in the central part of the U.S., but those Canadian wildfires, we get that smoke this time of year, not necessarily all the way down here. We often look off to the east for the Saharan dust, and there's a few plumes out there that are moving westward, but nothing that's going to make it into Texas that's going to be any bit noticeable in the foreseeable future. So the dust, not a factor right now. Very weak tropical storm Dexter. This is barely even a tropical storm in the first place. It's weakening as it heads out into the North Atlantic. A 40 to 50% chance of development, first off the Carolina coast and then also out in the middle of the Atlantic. That's something we'll watch in the coming days, but nothing that could threaten Texas. 76 degrees tomorrow morning, 90 at noon, 99 the high. A lot of sunshine, just the 10% chance of a brief afternoon shower, mainly along or east of I-35. Upper 90s again tomorrow. Today, by the way, the high was 98. Then we're at triple digits Thursday through the weekend. 20% chance of a few showers by Monday and Tuesday. See you back here in a few minutes.
Coming up on KSAT Sports Now at 7 o'clock, available to watch on our streaming platforms. KSAT Sports Now. It's available on KSAT Plus and KSAT.com. Now we are breaking down the Cowboys running backs room. Who will emerge as the #1 running back? Also out east, Texans head coach D'Amico Ryans provides an injury update on 2 key players, linebacker Christian Harris and running back Dameon Pierce. Also, the full interview with De'Aaron Fox after the guard inked a 4-year, $229 million max extension. And Fox had a lot of interesting things to say, including why he wanted to be in San Antonio long term. And now that high school football practices have commenced, our BGC season previews are underway, and we take you to Poth, where the Pirates are home to a very impressive active winning streak. And we have your missions coverage. That's all coming up at 7 o'clock.
Thank you for watching KSAT News at 6. We'll see you right back here on the Night Beat. Have a